Section 4. Historically, the Dust Bowl can be extracted by an account of important events, and in recreating the timeline over the last 250 years. 1789, the French Revolution arose over bread prices, for grain crops had reached record levels, driving a hungry mob to attack the gates of Paris. 1812, the cold climate stopped Napoleon Bonaparte from liberating Russia's lowest social class, called the serfs, considered an enslaved population. 1816, the year without a summer, following the April 5, 1815, volcanic eruption of Mount Tambora. 1840, European potato famine caused by potato blight in northern Europe is a sign of large-scale climate change. When climate change occurs, its effects can be seen in the most fragile ecosystem, and these are the agricultural lands, with the one plant type, termed uni-ecosystem. 1 million Irish died, and more than 2 million Northern Europeans. Similar to the United States, the Asian continent and Northern Europe also contain vast grain belts left by retracting glaciers. 1917, Communist Revolution in Russia was caused by a sudden decrease in the agricultural productivity of the grain belts and the extreme detachment between the ruling class, the Russian Tsar, and the malnourished population. Exploring the Russian Communist flag will reveal a sickle, which is a farm tool used in harvesting grain crops. The sickle was used to reap the grain and gather the crops into bushels, so they can be later thrashed and winnowed. 1920 and 1930s China Communist Revolution led by Mao Zedong was also caused by the same effects of a cooling climate. Some 40 million Chinese died of starvation during this time period. Their leaders failed to respond to the changing environment and develop an agricultural plan to feed their population. China is currently the largest producer, consumer, and importer of grain crops. The other associated effects of a large malnourished population is that poor nutrition makes the human body weak and highly susceptible to common diseases, colds, and flus. 1918 flu pandemic, commonly referred to as the Spanish flu, killed anywhere from 20 to 100 million people worldwide. Exploring the last 250 years of science, human history, Earth's climate record will show that the Spanish flu was not produced by the strength of the influenza, but by the weakness of the world's malnourished population. This was due to the changes in the world's food production caused by global cooling. 1941 German invasion of Russia was abandoned due to an early cold winter. 1950 Korean War broke out when Chinese troops, along with communist North Korean divisions, broke through the 38th parallel. The 1975 Communists won Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos after America withdrew. This gave Communist China open trade access to warmer agricultural lands needed to feed their expanding population. The Cold War, which ended in 1991, was not fought over political ideology, but a posturing of arms for one purpose: to protect the American grain belt. America and Canada together are their largest exporter of grain crops. Unlike Russia, China, the American government constructed wind barriers called the Shelter Belt Project to slow the surface winds. In addition, they installed an industrial irrigation infrastructure throughout the West, which included the Hoover Dam, to rehabilitate the American grain belt. Shipments of grain crops were sent to Russia and China throughout the Cold War to prevent further invasion into Southeast Asia. The Cold War ended when the Asian continent's grain production could feed their population. China's government is currently building the Three Gorge Dam, not only to produce energy, but also to irrigate vast agricultural lands to prevent a second Dust Bowl. Section 5. Geographically, Earth's land masses are mostly in northern latitudes and not along the equatorial region. This makes a global cooling event more catastrophic on Earth's population than a global warming event, considering that warmer Earth would open up more farmlands for production and extend the length of the growing season. The northern regions of Earth actually have the best croplands because glacial growth and retraction have deposited minerals which make the soil extremely fertile. When most good soil has a 6 to 12 inch topsoil, the grain belts in northern regions have up to 6 feet of mineral-rich, productive topsoil. The grain belts are an agricultural factory, and managed correctly can keep Earth warm, wet, and feed the population nearly infinitively. The land masses in the hot equatorial regions include small islands, rainforests, and the world's largest desert, the Sahara Desert of northern Africa. The equatorial islands are overpopulated and require food shipments to sustain their population. The rainforests have leach soils, low in both nutrients and minerals, and the only way to agriculturally develop rainforest land is through the slash and burn method. Slash and burn renders the burned trees into the soil to act as nutrients, forcing the soil to be agriculturally productive. This method of farming is only fruitful for a few years, and then the land becomes completely infertile for generations. Deserts are a lost ecosystem because they reflect the sun's energy, assist in cooling Earth's climate, and cannot support a large and rich biological population. A desert is created when wind or water erosion removes the topsoil. The physical process can be seen in a Dust Bowl event. Most of Earth's 6 billion inhabitants rely either directly or indirectly on the productivity of the grain belts from the northern latitudes. During the 1920s and 30s, this grain belt was nearly lost to the effects of a global cooling event and the natural extraction of moisture, creating the Dust Bowl. The global warming promoters, including their spokesperson Al Gore and the movie Inconvenient Truth, evaluate temperature records over the last 250 years. These promoters failed to assess a mini ice age event which ended 250 years ago, and the fact that 1,000 years ago Greenland was green, warm, and not an icy tundra. When comparing the last 250 years of Earth's climate to 1,000 years ago when the Vikings populated Greenland, Earth continues to experience an altering and cooling climate. In reality, Earth has only recently and marginally recovered from a cooling climate at the end of the Cold War.
That vigilante man. Have you seen that vigilante man? I've been seeing his name all over the land. sitting still, just as you know. Oh, the man came along. He chased us out in the rain. Tell me what's the fat gal and the man.